think that we evolved from animals.
I believe in creation. I don't believe in the story of creation. I do believe in most of the Bible, though.
For the remainder of this program, we're going to put you right here, where I'm sitting, in the juror's box. But this time you're going to hear the facts about evolution versus creation. Not some media spin, not wishful thinking, not the biased view of a scientific minority. When you stop to think about it, it's kind of sad, really, because we've grown so accustomed to just taking the word of any intelligent man in a lab coat with a doctor in front of his name that we've forgotten how to think for ourselves. We've got a scientist from Pensacola, Florida, Dr. Ken Hovind.
The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men who suppress the truth by their wickedness. Since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. For although they knew God, they neither glorified Him as God nor gave thanks to Him. But their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man and birds and animals and reptiles. Therefore, God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised.
A scientist from Pensacola, Florida, Dr. Ken Hovind, has a standing offer of $250,000, and I quote, to anyone who can give any, and I emphasize any, empirical evidence for evolution. If you want to be scientifically accurate about it, evolution doesn't even qualify to be a theory, despite the fact that it's the term most commonly used for it. No, in reality, it's not a theory at all. It's a model. Chemists have never been able to create life from non-living matter. And despite the countless millions of species that scientists claim were involved in our past, mysteriously, evolution has never repeated in modern history. Ken Ham, a former science teacher who now heads up the organization Answers in Genesis, explains.
I want to teach you something very special this morning, and I want you to remember this, boys and girls, something you'll never forget. Has any human being always been there? Yes or no? No. Has any scientist always been there? No. Who's the only one who's always been there? God. Who knows everything? So, in a big loud voice, who should you always trust first, God or the scientist? God. And I want you to remember that.
Hey, you told us to trust the scientists got it wrong. They've changed their theories. But you know what? The Word of God hasn't changed.
Almost all science textbooks include England's peppered moth as the classic example of evolution by natural selection. The theory says that dark and light-colored moths rested on tree trunks during the day, and birds ate them. But on trees covered with a whitish-colored fungus, the light moths were able to survive because they were camouflaged. When the Industrial Revolution hit, pollution and dark soot reversed the effects.
There was a scientific hypothesis that in periods where the trees of a forest were darkened by industrial smoke, moths which were dark in color would be better able to survive because the birds wouldn't be able to see them. And light-colored moths would be eaten more often, and so for a time you would get more dark moths and fewer light moths in a population.
The problem is, peppered moths don't rest on tree trunks during the day.
You see, the problem is Darwin's ideas were merely that, ideas, not facts. And what most people don't know is that Darwin himself expressed doubts about his own ideas.
Firstly, why, if species have descended from other species by insensibly fine gradations, do we not everywhere see innumerable transitional forms? Why then is not every geological formation and every stratum full of such intermediate links? Geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain, and this, perhaps, is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory.